Biology researcher Hu Shuo studies ants living in the Amazon rainforest in the hope of finding a cure for his sick son. After long experiments involving the crossbreeding of ant and mammal genes, Hu Shuo is still far from his goal, but an accident decides everything for him. He and his colleague Huang Jingxiong accidentally become test subjects themselves. Jingxiong is suddenly cured of cancer, but his behavior changes, as if he is being controlled by some unknown force, and Hu Shuo begins to doubt whether they are on the right path. Chinese science fiction is highly respected worldwide when it comes to literature, but in cinema, the situation is almost the opposite. With rare exceptions like the Wandering Earth duology, the genre stubbornly refuses to work for Chinese filmmakers. The problem is fundamental and lies in the approach itself. In Chinese cinema, sci-fi is usually seen either as an existential auteur drama or as a derivative action movie about poorly rendered fantastical creatures. With Mutation Crisis, things are even worse because its creators decided to combine both approaches. But a minus times a minus, oddly enough, didn't result in a plus, it resulted in a squared minus. What they ended up with is a derivative action movie about badly animated mutant ants that spends most of its runtime pretending to be a thoughtful meditation on the fate of humanity. No matter how meaningfully the filmmakers furrow their brows, nothing happening on screen feels believable. In fact, the creators of Mutation Crisis effectively signed their own death warrant by casting Xing Yu in the lead role of a scientist. A former Shaolin monk who became an action star thanks to Stephen Chow, casting him in Kung Fu Hustle, Xing Yu is an experienced screen fighter. But first, his charisma tends toward the negative, and second, trusting him with the role of a scientist only makes sense as a dare. Considering that for the first half of the film the actor isn't even allowed to help himself with fists and kicks, it's easy to imagine how dull and unconvincing what's happening on screen becomes. Secondly, the film has an extremely muddled plot, full of talk that somehow manages to avoid any real specificity. We're fed smart-sounding words about genes, about ant behavior, about the monumental breakthrough for humanity the heroes are supposedly on the verge of, but what's actually happening on screen is outright surrealism, with the characters constantly hallucinating. Unfortunately, this is a very common trick, hiding a lack of substance behind visual ambiguity, and the makers of Mutation Crisis resort to it again and again. In the second half of the film, the creators seem to realize that it's time to stop padding, and they shift into a new phase. Out of nowhere, a tough military man and his squad appear, and the heroes head into the ant nest in search of the queen. From this point on, the level of phantasmagoric nonsense drops slightly, but it's not replaced by spectacle. The movie is cheap, like most films made for online platforms, and it demands far too much CGI. As a result, Mutation Crisis fails on two fronts at once. Its intellectual ambitions collapse into hollow, content-free talk, and as a sci-fi action movie, it doesn't even rise to the level of an honest popcorn attraction. It's no surprise that many Chinese viewers wrote that they couldn't finish the film. When science fiction offers neither ideas nor spectacle, the only logical option left is the stop button.